My parents gave my sister our childhood home, then expected me to move in and pay rent to her. I refused, and now they're furious. I'm a 37-year-old guy from a small town, and my life took a turn I never expected, all over a house. The same house my parents always told me they'd leave equally to my sister, Elle, and me. I never thought I'd be so shaken by what should have been just another family decision. Instead, this whole situation has thrown me into a mess of anger, resentment, and pure disbelief at how quickly family loyalty can unravel. Growing up, my sister and I had a pretty standard sibling relationship. I'm the older, quieter one, while she's the social butterfly who always had a way of charming my parents. That charm seemed to evolve into something else as we got older. My parents always doted on her, helping her out of tight spots while I was left to figure things out on my own. But I didn't mind. I've always liked being independent, building my life without expecting a handout. Still, I thought there were some things in life, like family fairness, that were set in stone. Apparently, I was wrong. It all started with a call from my mom. She said she had big news and that I should come over. I figured it was something fun or family related, maybe a vacation or a party. But when I arrived, the mood was serious. My parents sat on the couch, my sister next to them, looking more smug than usual. It was like they'd already had a full discussion before I got there, and I was about to be filled in last minute. My mom looked at me, beaming as if she'd just won the lottery. We've decided to give the house to Elle. My first reaction was shock. Our childhood home, where we grew up, was just given to my sister, no warning, no discussion, just a done deal. My parents had always said they'd leave the house to both of us. It was supposed to be an equal inheritance, a piece of our family legacy, but here they were, giving it to Elle outright, as if I didn't even matter. Wait, just like that? I asked, my voice barely steady. I thought the house was for both of us. Isn't that what you always said? My dad, looking as if he were giving me the most reasonable answer in the world, replied, Elle has been here for us all these years, helping out, and we thought it was only fair that she get the house. You've always been independent, Em, you don't need it as much as she does. Fair, that's what they called it. Just because I've never leaned on them financially, they decided I didn't need to be part of this. Meanwhile, my sister sat there, not even trying to hide the smirk on her face. The whole setup felt like a trap, like they'd already made up their minds and I was just the guy on the sidelines. But then, to make it worse, my mom added, almost like she was throwing me a bone, and you know, if you ever need a place to stay, you're welcome to move in with Elle. She said she'd be fine with renting you a room. I couldn't believe it. They were offering me a room in my childhood home, for rent, to my sister. I turned to her, and she looked like she was basking in her little victory, barely suppressing a grin. I took a deep breath, the anger boiling inside me, but I didn't want to give them the satisfaction of seeing how hurt I was. So, I forced a smile, stood up, and said, thanks, but no thanks, before walking out. The betrayal felt almost surreal. For days, I tried to wrap my head around it, wondering when this favoritism had started running so deep. It wasn't just about the house anymore, it was about being dismissed, ignored, like I was just some outsider in my own family. The house represented all of that, and they had just given it away without a second thought. The following weekend, my parents invited me back over, probably sensing the tension. I went, but only because I hoped they might offer an explanation, some acknowledgement of how this decision had blindsided me. Instead, it felt like walking into an intervention, with them already set on convincing me that I was the one being unreasonable. We don't understand why you're so upset, Em, my mom said, shaking her head like I was the one out of line. You're doing well for yourself. Elle has had more struggles, and we thought this would give her some security. We thought you'd understand. So, this is about me not needing it then? I said, trying to keep my voice calm. I thought the house was going to both of us. When did that change? My dad jumped in, sounding frustrated. We didn't think it was a big deal, Em. You're financially stable, you have a good job, and we figured this was the best way to help Elle. Besides, it's not like we're cutting you off. You can still stay there if you ever need to. The casual offer to stay there stung more than I could have imagined. They were basically telling me I could be a tenant in my own family home, as long as I paid my sister rent. It was insulting. I was frustrated, but I bit my tongue. Getting angry wouldn't change anything. Look, I said, trying to keep it together, I'm not mad about helping Elle, but it's the way you did this. You made a huge decision that affects me, and you didn't even think I deserved to know. Elle, who had been silent the whole time, finally spoke up with her classic entitled tone. Em, don't make this about you. Mom and Dad made this decision because they know I need it more. You're acting like they owe you something. It took everything in me not to lose my temper. She acted as if I was some kind of villain for wanting what was supposed to be an equal share. I realized there was no point in arguing, they'd made their choice, and nothing I said would make them see my side. After that conversation, I decided to get some advice from a family friend, who works in real estate. I needed someone objective, someone who could help me make sense of the situation. He listened to the whole mess, then suggested I check the property records to see if there were any legal implications to the deed transfer. If they changed ownership, there should be a record, he said. And it's worth looking into, just to make sure everything's legit. Following his advice, I did some digging. That's when I found something that shook me even more. My parents hadn't just changed the will, they'd transferred the deed. My sister was already the sole owner, as if I'd never existed. They hadn't waited until they passed away, they just handed it over to her, making it clear.